everybody, it's Mike from Hear the Watchman, and we're coming at you today, again, audio only. We've been getting a lot of positive emails concerning the broadcast being limited to audio, so we're going to go again, and today we have the other half of the team, the larger half, the taller half, the better-looking half of the team who wrote The Rabbi, the Secret Message, and the Identity of Messiah. And that is none other than Pastor Carl Gallups. Carl, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Mike. I don't know how to respond to that introduction. I'm just going to leave it alone. But hey, thank you for having me on. It's always great. It's always great to be with you, my friend.
Well, we love having you. And folks, we want to make sure you know that Carl will be preaching at Hear the Watchman in Dallas, Texas, here at just the end of the month, the 28th through the 31st. As always, he delivers a powerful message, and we are looking forward to having you there, Carl.
Oh, thanks, Mike. It's my honor. And I'm really looking forward to being with the people, hanging out at the table, talking to folks, signing books, ministering to people, praying with people. I love doing that. And as you know, of course, Zev Porat, who wrote this book with me, Messianic Rabbi, of course, I mean, you booked him, so you know, but he'll be there too. And the two of us, sometime late Saturday afternoon, I think we're going to be headed out. But we've got like a week and a half, 2 weeks of media tour, TV and radio and pulpits all over the nation, and while he's in the States. And so we'll be doing a lot of driving and a lot of flying, and a lot of it is about this new book that we're getting ready to talk about, because that's a story that just won't die, and it is prophetic, and it is profound, and it's shaking the nations. So Zev and I will be hanging out at the same table. We're so looking forward to fellowshipping with you and Jeannie, all the great Hear the Watchman preachers and conference personalities, and then, of course, the people that are coming. I mean, God, good gracious, I really enjoy just the fellowship that happens at those conferences.
Well, you're an integral part of the conference there in Dallas, Carl, and we're just so looking forward to it. Now, I have to know, well, first, folks, go to hearthewatchman.com. There's still a few tickets left. I think there's 10 hotel rooms left. It's just really getting to that point now. But you can use the code Gallups20. If you use the code Gallups20, you will get 20% off the physical ticket, or $20 off the physical ticket, and 20% off the live streaming of the conference. So you don't have to miss it if you can't make it there. Sign up for that stream. You get to watch it for 6 months. Now, Carl, talk to me. How did this book come about?
Yeah, well, thank you, man. The book is called The Rabbi, the Secret Message, and the Identity of Messiah. Well, here's the deal. It is a true story. It's an earth-shattering story. It's still shaking the nations. It's immersed in intrigue, fake news, the deep state, the scriptures, prophecy, current events that are prophetic. But it started, here's how it came about. I wrote the first and only book. Now, listen, that sounds braggadocious. It is not. I am humbled by all of this. I'm just stating the facts. In 2013, it was published. It was called The Rabbi Who Found Messiah, the Story of Yitzhak Kaduri. It was the only book in the world on the topic, published by a major publisher, and I think the only book in the world on the topic. But anyway, at least published by a major publisher. That book wound up being published in 5 different languages. It went totally international. A documentary movie was made about it. That was subtitled it was spoken in English. Rabbi Jonathan Cahn and I did it. We were in it together, this documentary movie filmed by a professional film company and a publisher. And Jonathan Cahn and I were in it, and that was subtitled in Hebrew and Spanish, spoken in English. I mean, it was just this international phenomena. Well, the deep state fake news of the Orthodox community around the world, and particularly inside of Israel, and even in the Messianic and Christian communities that didn't want this story exposed because of its profound implications, they just went crazy. Well, in the meantime, I did tons of interviews, with international, national interviews. I met all kinds of internationally renowned figures. Some of them have become very good friends of mine now. and I'm talking some high-level political and entertainment figures from around the world. And so that was really a cool thing, and I was able to get a lot of gospel out, a lot of truth, a lot of prophecy preaching and teaching with that story. In the meantime, I met Zev Porat through all of that because he was mentioned in my first book. We've become good friends and ministry partners. He's deeply immersed and deeply connected to this story. So that happened back in 2013. Well, now, here we are 6 years later. And people would say, well, why are you writing another book? Because, oh my gosh, Mike, the things that have happened since then. I mean, I really didn't want to do the work of writing another book about a story that I had already written and have been doing interviews on for 5 years. I really didn't want that. I mean, writing a book of this nature is hard work, but it had to be told because new evidence came forth, supernatural connections came forth. Supernatural backstories have now been integrated into this. New witnesses have come forth. New information has come forth. Persecution that's off the charts is now documented because of this story. This story has gone into the underground church in China, into hundreds of congregations, shaking the underground church, causing revival. Imams have been saved because of this story. We've got some of that documented in this new book. Rabbis, Orthodox rabbis, have been saved because of this story. That's documented in this new book. So anyway, this new book, and it is only 5 or 6 years after the first one, but it had to be written, Mike. It just did. And so I, bit my lip and buckled down and did the work up all night and getting up early in the mornings because I'm a pastor too, and I've got my own talk radio show, and I travel the nation. I do prophecy conferences, yours and others, and I do a lot of media. And so I mean, to write this book and the depth of the research and the referencing and the verification and attestation of what we're saying, I knew it would be a real difficult task, but we did it. God has blessed it. I wrote it in a very conversational style. It's kind of like reading a novel. It's like reading The Raiders of the Lost Ark. There's a lot of exciting page turning in it. And people, it's only been out a few weeks, and it's already the top 400 best-selling book of all books on Amazon. It's been #1 bestseller in 8 different categories now. It's just been out a couple of weeks.
Wow.
And the media tour really hasn't even started yet. We've got major media that Zev and I are lined up. They're just waiting for Zev to get here from Israel. We haven't even started that yet, and the book has already gone that huge. So anyway, it's a big deal. That's how it all started. I hope that answers your question.
Well, it does, and it's interesting because I did interview Zev last week about it, and he and I are doing a show again tomorrow on a different topic. But
good.
He was talking about it, and it came to me that I don't think people realize that this is a true story.
I know. Listen, Tom Horn, the CEO of Skywatch Television and the CEO of Defender Publishers, he read it. He wrote me back and he said, "Oh my gosh," he said, "if I didn't know this was a true story, I would think this was a fictional novel." Right. He said, "This is unbelievable," and it really is. Now listen. He's not saying, and I'm not saying, that my writing is that good. This is nothing about me. I'm talking about the story. The story is unbelievable. The elements, the connection to modern prophecy, to things that are happening right now, the connection to the Word of God, the connection to revival that's going on among Jews and Muslims, and it's unbelievable. Yeah, it doesn't even seem like it's real, but it is.
Well, now, Carl, you go over to Israel and you spend time with Zev, and I know you guys have ministered together. What do you find when you approach people? And I'm speaking specifically when you're with Zev and you're speaking to Jews about the gospel, what kind of a response do you find?
Right. Well, here's the thing. Zev and I have spoken to Jews in the United States together. We do it through media, but I have not been to Israel with Zev yet to do it in the streets with him, and here's why. Now, I will be in just a few weeks. I'm headed to Israel in just a few weeks, and we're going to be there. I'm going to be there for weeks, and we're going to do that. But here's the deal, and then I'll answer your question. You got to remember, Zev and I just met a few years ago because when I wrote the first book, he was in the book because I knew of the work he was doing on this Kaduri story as a person who was born and raised in Israel, who was born and raised into the rabbinical tradition, who was connected to the Kaduri organization and family, as well as to the Israeli government through his family. Zev is deeply connected to all of that. And so I wrote about him just as somebody I had researched on the internet. Well, when that book went out and it finally made it into his hands, he contacted me. And I mean, I had no idea how to get a hold of him. You know, when you're doing research for a book, you come across all kind of people and stories and quotes and articles. And so you quote them. Well, Zev contacted me, said, and so anyway, it's a long story, but through that contact, we eventually became very dear friends, brothers in the Lord, ministry partners, and now he's been to the United States several times, and he and I have done a lot of ministry together in pulpits and conferences and media, television and radio, and witnessing to people. So, but here in just a few weeks, I'll get a taste of right there in Israel with him as we go to places like the Kotel, the Western Wall, as we go into areas and Jewish quarters and Orthodox quarters, and as we go right to the face of the persecutors, even the organizations like Yad Lakim. We're going to make appointments to sit down with them and try to just decently discuss these things. So that's going to be interesting, and I'll be better equipped to relate that to you. But in this new book, Zev particularly and others, I've got firsthand documented accounts of the question you asked. What happens when you witness and minister to Orthodox Jews with this story? Well, every person is different and every situation is different, of course. It all has to be led by the Holy Spirit. It's not cookie cutter. The approach is not cookie cutter. However, what Zev has discovered is that these books, the first one, The Rabbi That Found Messiah, and now this one, The Rabbi, the Secret Message and the Identity of Messiah, they become huge witnessing tools in Zev's hand, especially in Israel, but again, everywhere when you're ministering to Orthodox Jews. Because the Orthodox Jewish mind, they want to see evidence. They want to see something in writing, something that's verified. They don't want to just hear a story about something or somebody's opinion. So when Zev will start off by speaking about, see, this Yitzhak Kaduri, he was the most venerated rabbi in Israel's history. When he died, there were 350,000 people at his funeral. They had to close the streets of Jerusalem for 2 days. The president of Israel gave the eulogy for this man's funeral. Yet this was the man that left a secret message that was eventually revealed to the world, indicating that he had had a vision of the real Messiah. He knew his name, and his name is Yeshua, or Jesus. And so that just rocked the Jewish world. It rocked the Christian world. It's still shaking the nations. And so when you go up to Orthodox Jews now and you say, hey, you know Yitzhak Kaduri, right? Oh, yes. Did you know that he said that Yeshua is the Messiah? They're floored. Some of them get angered. Some of them, that's a lie. Well, no, it's not. Look, and we open the book, and we show them the picture of his own handwritten note in his own handwriting. And we show them what the note says and how it's decoded. And they see it with their own eyes. Immediately they see it, and they freak out. I mean, some of them just turn and walk away. They don't know what to say. Others will say, tell me more. How did this happen? How is it that I've not heard about it? And then we say, oh, it's well documented. Read the book. The problem is the deep state and fake news is keeping it from you because it's so earth-shattering. So anyway, some receive it, and actually, I mean, the Holy Spirit comes on them. They give their life to Yeshua, to Jesus Christ as Messiah and Lord. It's astounding. Zev has a lot of this documented in videographic and pictographic and articles. He's got witnesses there every time, so it's not just his word and somebody else's. It's just absolutely amazing, Mike. And so, you know, the reactions are different. Some of the reactions are violent. Zev has had people spit on him, throw rocks at him, threaten him. Even some of Kaduri's own students in his rabbinical training school that he had shared this truth with, 13 of them are now professing believers in Jesus, and some of them have had to change their names. They've had to leave their homes and neighborhoods because of the persecution. So it's a mixed bag of reactions, but I hope that answers your question. And very soon I'll be in Israel with Zev doing this, and so I'll be able to report more accurately then.
Well, we'll be looking forward to hearing that. Now, I find it astounding, Carl, that you have known Zev for such a short period of time. When people, if you come out to the conference and you see Carl and Zev together, you would think that they were, like had been friends and worked together for years. So I find that amazing. It's interesting how God works and how God will put people in our lives, isn't it?
Yes, no, it is. And Zev and I both have commented on that before, the very thing you just said. I mean, Zev and I are, we're like you. We're real men. We don't sit around and gush and hand each other roses and tiptoe through the tulips together. I mean, but, we're not emotional kind of guys. Nothing wrong with, showing emotions. But I'm just saying we're real men. But from time to time, we'll have these conversations and we'll both get a little choked up and say, how is this even possible? How is it even possible that from across the ocean that we know each other and love each other? Our wives know and love each other. We minister together. We travel back and forth. We're doing books together and movies together and TV and radio and ministry and leading people to the Lord together and preaching conferences together and and setting up at each other's tables and ministering to people at the table together. I mean, how is this even possible? Well, a lot of that is told in this new book because it is a supernatural backstory. When you read how it all happened, it is unbelievable. It's impossible humanly. Truly. I mean, just saying it right now, people are listening and saying, well, that's not impossible. People meet each other all the time. No, 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 no. Read this book, read the story of how it happened, and it will blow you away. Because humanly speaking, it should never have happened. But not only has it happened, but God has melded our hearts in such a way that our ministries are just literally hand in hand, like you just said. And if people didn't know, they would think we had been in the ministry for decades together. But literally, it's been less than 5 years, probably just 3 or 4 good solid years.
Yeah, and it's fascinating to watch the two of them together, folks. It truly is. I mean, they're like polar opposites. It's just it truly is amazing to sit there and I mean, Zev's a short man, Carl's a tall man, and it's fascinating. Now you're going to be at Hear the Watchman, and this is your third or fourth one, I believe, with us. Carl, what keeps you coming back to the Hear the Watchman conference?
Well, thanks. Yeah, it is fourth or maybe even fifth. I don't know. We've been to Dallas 3 times, been to New York with you once, been up to Boise with you. I think that makes this make the fifth conference, I think. Yeah, I mean, time flies, doesn't it, brother, when you're having fun? Well, listen, what makes me keep coming back is what I said when we began, and that is just the atmosphere, the fellowship, the friendships that have been made. A lot of the same speakers, but there's always a smattering of new speakers, but a lot of the same speakers are there, and we all have fresh messages, and it's a reunion among those of us that minister together and know each other. But even more importantly than that, it's a reunion among a great big body of believers. And some of the conferences, there are a lot of the same folks, but there are always new people that are coming. We meet new people, and I love it because there is where, at a lot of conferences, the speakers, the personalities, if you will, don't really get to mix and mingle with the people. But you guys have set up to Hear the Watchman conference so that the people and the speakers they can have lunch together, they can have coffee together, they can hang around the tables together, they can talk, they can pray together, they can fellowship together, they can have conversations together. And, sometimes at my table, there may be a line of people, so I can't talk to each person for 45 minutes, but I can spend, 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes with each one and just get to know them, shake their hand, hug their neck, talk to them, sign a book, pray with them, listen to some concerns they have. And I mean, that's a powerful thing, brother. When you do 2 or 3 days of that, then you meet new people and new people come into your life. And And, and because I'm so blessed to be on a lot of television and radio and all over the internet, there are a lot of people that come to those conferences. It's the first time they've ever really been able to meet and talk to me in person. And so that's cool for them. But what they don't know is it's really cool for me, because they're saying, man, I saw you on Skywatch. I saw you on Jim Baker. I saw you on the TBN. I saw you here. And then to say, well, thank you. I had no idea. I thought it was just my mama watching me. I didn't know you were watching me too. So anyway, so that's why the Hear the Watchman Conference not only gets a lot of good biblical teaching and truth out there through all of these different speakers, but it also is a time of just good heart level, hand to hand, skin to skin level fellowship, and I love that.
Well, we love the fact that you're there. We've stepped on a couple of landmines along the way, but we tend to quickly diffuse those with your help and some other people's help. But well, it's not perfect, no. but nothing is. But we're just pleased now, Carl. I assume people can come out to Hear the Watchman and get a copy of your book there.
Yeah, we always have copies of some of my latest books. And so this Rabbi book will be there. The one that has just still going crazy that I published right before it is Gods of Ground Zero. And that one was preceded by Gods and Thrones. And I've got a third one coming out by Defender Publishers in that series. It'll be out June or July. And I'm not allowed to give the title yet, but it'll be the third in that series of what we're calling the Gods series. And it's just good, deep biblical teaching of connecting the dots from Genesis to Revelation, jumping into the headline news, helping people to see how real the prophetic times are in which we're living and what the biblical roots are, and of all of this. And so I'm so proud that the Lord would trust me with that series. And so, those books will be there. This new one will be there. We can, and I'll sign them for people, and they can get them for gifts, and we'll sign them to different folks for them. And that, again, that's just a part of what I love about these conferences, is the personal touch to everything.
Well, we're really looking forward to having you and having Zev there, Carl, and we appreciate taking time out of your busy schedule to be on the show with us today. Thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Mike. Thank you. God bless you. I look forward to seeing you in just a few weeks.
We'll see you here in a couple of weeks. Folks, you can get the book on Amazon. You can go to Skywatch TV, Defender Publishing. You can get it there. Whatever you do, figure out a way to get your hands on a copy of this book. We hope we see you in Dallas in a couple of weeks. God bless each and every one of you. And as we always say here on the Watchman's Report, remember, there's nothing you can't do with Jesus in your heart except nothing at all. We'll see you next time here on the Watchman's Report.